Okay, this is Viva 4.0, Life in the Early Colonies. The Viva question is, what was life in the early colonies? Okay, life in the early colonies, you were one of three people, or you had one of three jobs, really. Farmers/surveyors, sailors, and pirates. People who were farmers, or people who came to the early colonies kind of had to be farmers because there were really only no other jobs and you had to make food for yourself somehow. There weren't really like supermarkets where you could buy food, so you had to make your own food, have plantations, cattle, farm animals, and you had to, have not a lot of knowledge because it's not the easiest tasks. So they learned a lot from the native Indians who were already living there, and they were like kind of coexisting, not really bothering, either people. Or you were a surveyor, and surveyors, went to the kind of undiscovered or abandoned houses and measured out how much land each person owned, I guess. And a good story for a surveyor is a lot of surveyors were beaten or even killed because of squatters living in those abandoned houses would, live there, and they didn't want their people, or like they didn't want the surveyors to know they were living there and, kick them out, so they would kill or injure the surveyors so they would have no knowledge someone was living there. Or you were a sailor, and there weren't that many sailors because it wasn't a great job. It was very harsh on the boats, and it was hard to know what to do at a young age. So they were just life lessons you had to learn on the boat. And sailors were really beaten and flogged, and a lot of bad stuff happened to them because the captains had to be harsh to their crewmates because they didn't want to have a mutiny, and then the captains would die or get sent out in the ocean randomly. And a story for sailors is they could legally capture males from the ages of older teenagers to 20s and 30s because there weren't enough sailors that needed to be on the boats. So the English legally allowed sailors to capture and take the young men on their boats, and they wouldn't see their families for a long time, like a few years to even longer, like their whole life maybe. So, and then there are pirates, and pirates were mostly in Jamaica because they knew that a lot of gold and goods were going through Jamaica to Africa or back to Europe. So, yes, and a good story for that is pirates that were around Jamaica were legally allowed to steal and attack the Spanish ships from England because English figured out if the pirates steal for them and steal from the Spanish, and then the pirates go to Port Royal and sell to the English a quarter of what the good is actually worth, and then the English sell to Africa, everyone is making money except the Spanish, and England didn't really want that, or the Spanish to grow, so they were like, let's get the pirates, and they get money by stealing from the Spanish and then selling it to the English. Then the English get money from selling it to Africa, and they get rid of the middleman, or I guess you could say Spain. So, yeah. In the early colonies, you had one of three jobs: farmer/surveyor, sailors, or pirates.